Sri Lanka is emerging from a 3-decade-long ethnic conflict. We were able, a few years ago, to overcome terrorism in this country. And today, Sri Lanka is a very peaceful place. It is one of the safest spots in Asia and in the globe. So you're quite welcome to go around, meet people here, and I hope have a good impression of Sri Lanka and her people. So first of all, welcome, and we are happy that you're here, and hope you will come again to Sri Lanka. When I was asked to speak a few words on ComSat, my first thoughts were about the communication satellite. Because ComSat is usually associated with the communication satellite and in particularly the commercial applications of satellite technology. I thought you had selected Sri Lanka because this was the home of Sir Arthur Clarke, who was a great visionary, particularly in modern science and technology. In his name, we have established a Center for Modern Technologies in Moratuwa, which is only a few kilometers from here. And I've asked Niroshan to see that you get an opportunity of visiting particularly our Nanotechnology Center, which I think is a global leader. And the model for the Nanotechnology Center is a joint venture between the government and the private sector, which I think is something that would interest you. And I'm pretty sure that once you visit that center and you talk to our scientists there, you will get a good impression of our scientific capabilities. Now, the distinguished speaker before me referred to the Millennium Development Goals. Some years ago, the heads of state met at the UN and identified, I believe, 15 key indicators of growth and social justice, which were called the Millennium Development Goals. Some call it Human Development Goals. And today in 2015, we can look back at the first stage of these MDGs and derive a fair amount of satisfaction. All the countries represented here have made advances since the concept of the Millennium Development Goals were adopted by the heads of states. I'm particularly glad that Sri Lanka has done very well. As was mentioned earlier, Sri Lanka is one of the 7 countries which have achieved a majority of the Millennium Development Goals that were set out in New York. But the key issue now is that having finished the first phase of these MDGs, we are now exploring what the second phase should provide for. The second phase or phase 2 of the MDGs. And that is where it is of great relevance to you, because the new cluster of objectives for the developing world will be built around science and technology. So if the first phase deals with basic human and social development requirements like universal education, gender equality, universal health, criteria like that, poverty alleviation. In the next stage, we will be concentrating on science and technology. Because for developing countries, I notice in the theme for your seminar is social development on a sustained basis. For that, we had to think of the role of science and technology. Today we live in a highly competitive world. Nobody owes us favors, and we don't owe anybody else favors when it comes to economic activity and economic competition. Though we like to say that we do that, in reality the people who are involved in production, in exchange, in trade, are used to hardball decision making and activity. So what makes us so special? One, of course, are the natural resources. Now there was a reference, for example, the need to invest more and more research on our primary commodities, rubber, tea, coconut, rice, how to increase productivity. What is the role of science and technology in improving productivity in those traditional areas? But we can't be content with that. Every country is looking at an export-oriented economy. From a primary commodities exporting economy, we have to move to a value-added export economy. There are many variables that help a country to come into that position. One, of course, are the natural resources, but equally important are the human resources. The capacity of our people to innovate and to make good use of the latest developments in science and technology. I remember reading Dr. Homi Bhabha long years ago. He was advisor to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the father of the development of science in India, and also, I suppose, his influence in the other neighboring countries as well. Today, India is one of the leading scientific core in the world and improving. We should not feel that we are second class when it comes to the developing world. If you look at science and technology in India, in China, in Singapore, in many of the countries, particularly in the ASEAN countries, you will find that we are making vast strides and that we are developing a whole community of scientists and networks, which I think we can compare favorably with the rest of the world. We are an emerging scientific core that has to be encouraged. So when you think of what is called comparative advantage, you can't think of economic growth without analyzing your comparative advantage. What do you have which puts you ahead of the others? And how do you enhance those factors which will make us more competitive? How you add value so that our products are competitive in the global world. We are no longer in a world where you can just manufacture only for your domestic audience. Even if you take countries like India, countries particularly like China, Vietnam, which have a substantial or even a very large domestic demand, nevertheless they look on their industries and manufacturing sector with the idea of exports. So you can't get away from exports on a global scale. So what gives you that comparative edge? I would think in countries like Sri Lanka and many of the countries represented here, that edge will come through highly developed human resources. If you have a large community of people who are science and technology oriented, who can compete in science and technology and research with anybody in the region or indeed of the world, then we have a strong comparative advantage when it comes to international competition. So the objective of the Sri Lankan government is to create that infrastructure through the primary education system, the secondary education system, through the university system, through various scientific organizations and research institutions, so that we can create a vast core of people who can through their knowledge of new science and technology, prove to be the comparative advantage when it comes to other economies. We know, for example, in the IT sector, in the manufacturing sector, one of the criteria for investment, for cross-border investment particularly, is the availability of developed material resources. Highly developed human resources is a strong incentive for people to come and invest in a country, in addition to, of course, the other factors that matter. So we are not talking of peripheral matters when we are talking of networks of people who are interested in science and technology, who exchange ideas, who jointly want to rapidly increase or improve the science and research sector. As Dr. Homi Bhabha said, the poorer we are, the more we need science, because we can leapfrog over the others who are already there. We need not go through this long process of trial and error which developed countries have had to go through. Because science is there's accretion. We don't have to go through all those difficult experiences. We can have the benefit of what has been done abroad. And that can only come through this research, through consultations, through exchanging ideas and experiences. So I look on your ComSat, which shares a very great name with the commercial satellites. This ComSat is also very important, so that we can have, especially in the south, more emphasis on science and technology. One of the problems why we are poor is that we don't have a scientific mentality. We don't have a rational mentality. We don't look at problems in a rational way. If I may say so in lighter vein, today you were to start at 9 o'clock. I was told to come at 10 o'clock. To my horror, I found that when I came at 10 o'clock, the meeting had not started. Because we don't have a rational, everyday approach to these things. We need to go to that. Too much of ritual. We spend so much of time lighting lamps and all that sort of thing, which is very good, I suppose. Gives you good photo opportunities, which politicians love. All that is good, but I think we must get on with the job. We have to have very close links with the scientific community, give them all the assistance, so that your presence here is a great encouragement to us. We are not alone, we all work together, and I want to congratulate you and thank you for your mission. Is very, very important in the lives of ordinary poor people in our countries, who need all the support we can give from the area of science and technology, as we have proved in Sri Lanka through achievement of the Millennium Development Goals. We have to get together to improve the lives of our poorer people, the more disenfranchised people. And for that, I think you and science and technology will make a very important difference. And I thank you for being here today. Thank you very much.